So the beans for my stew is finished. It's finished cooking. As you can see, it's very, very soft. It's really, really soft. So usually I wash it to get all the skin off, because as it's cooking, it also take out the skin for you. So I usually wash it again just to get all the skin off. So I'm gonna put more water in it, and then I will use this net to get it out. As you can see, I'm putting more water. So all the skin is gonna rise up on the top, and then I'll pour it out. Because I don't want the skin in the beans. So as I'm rubbing it like this in there, it's bringing all the skin to the top, and then I'll pour out all the skin. Because I don't need the skin, I just need the beans itself. So all the skin is poured. See, it's coming out. All the skin is coming out as I pour it out. And then the rest that is not gone, you can take it out with your hands as well. Okay, so now most of the skin is gone out of it. So I'm gonna do like this, get the rest of the water out, and then I'll save the beans for later when it's the soup is ready. And then I'll put it in this. I'll save it for later and then put it in this stew. So this is how I do it. Get all the water out, pour it into a container, and then I'll leave it on the side until the stew is ready, and then I'll add it to the stew. So this is the beans. It's all soft and nice, ready to be added to the stew. So this is the oil that I'll be using to fry the chicken and the fish for the stew. You can get any oil from the grocery store, put it in the pan like this, and then after you finish cutting your fish and your chicken and you season it the way you like it, you put salt on it. You can fry it in here, or you don't even have to put salt. You don't have to put, if you don't like seasoning on it, all you have to do is just put salt on the fish and on the chicken, and then you fry it. If you don't like the chicken fried, you can just put the chicken and the fish in the stew as it's cooking, and then it will be okay as well. So if you don't like oil or to fry stuff or to fry fish or meat for your stew, you don't have to. You can put the meat in the stew as you're making it, and it'll be okay. So I'm just cutting the fishes now. I just remove all the intestines, and then I washed it and I'm cutting it in 3 pieces. So what I do is cut the middle like this, and I remove the scales off it, and cut the tail, and then I take out all the intestines, and then I wash it very well. It's not a really big fish, it's just a small fish. So I'll just be cutting it like this 3 pieces. This is the last one that I'll be cutting. I already cut the chicken, and this is the part of the chicken that I'll be using. So it's already ready. And I'll be frying them after. Yeah, I like everything very clean, so I always wash it very well and cut it into 3 parts. And then I'm not going to put seasoning on it because I don't want seasoning on it today, so I'll just put salt. And this is my salt. It's a household salt, so I'll put just a little bit, and then I'll mix it together, get all the salt on it. Okay, I already turned on the fire. It's not very hot, but it will get hot soon. But I want to put it in right now because I don't like when it gets so hot and it's popping. So I want to put it in now so that I don't feel the when it's really hot and it start to pop. Okay, so it's in there. So you put it in there one by one. Put the fish and the chicken is done frying, so I'll be putting it in here. I like it very crunchy and very hard, so I normally leave it to get very crunchy so that it tastes nice for me. But if you don't like it cooked that way, you can take it out as soon as it gets a bit soft, and it will be okay as well. So I'm not using a lot of meat for the stew. I'm just using a little meat. So this is it. This is the chicken and the fish that I'll be using for the tomato and the bean stew. So I've decided to add some of the goat meat to the chicken and the fish for the stew. So I got some of the remaining of the goat meat that I stored in the deep freezer, and I'm going to wash it, and then I'm going to fry it and add it to the chicken. Also, you can use any meat that you have. It doesn't have to be goat meat or chicken meat or fish. It can be whatever meat you like. So whatever meat you like, that's what you use in your stew and your soup. But if you don't like meat at all and you're vegetarian, you can also use spices to make the taste very good, just like if it had meat inside, how it will taste. You can also use spices to get that taste. So the goat meat is also finished, and I have added to the fish and the chicken. It's not much. It's not as many as if it was for a big family, I would have used a lot. And for me, I don't like a lot of meat, so I usually eat less meat, so that's why it's small like this. But if you're a family or somebody that really loves meat and you have the money to buy it, you can buy more meat and put it in there. But for me, I don't really like a lot of meat. And so if you're vegetarian, you don't even have to add meat. The spices that you put in the stew will make it, and with the oil will make it very nice for you with salt in it. So this is the meat that I'll be using for the stew: chicken, goat meat, and fish. So the pan is warm now. There's no water under it anymore. So I'm putting my virgin oil. I'm not going to use a lot. Just a little. But it's up to you. If you don't like a lot of oil, don't use too much. But for me, for today, I like a little bit more. Normally I'll put less than this. But because I'm going to add beans to it, I want the oil to settle on top when it's finished. So that's why I put this amount in there. So I'm going to go and cut my onion and then I'll put it inside. Okay. So I'm going to use 3 onions to blend and to cook the stew, to make the stew. And I'm using garlic. I have my pepper and my ginger already in the blender. So I'll cut one of the onion and put it in the blender to blend it with the pepper, the ginger, and the garlic. And I'll cut these 2 and put it in the oil and let it boil for a while and let it fry for a while. Okay, so I'm gonna cut the onions and put it in the oil. I don't know how you cut your onion, but you can leave the link. You can leave the comment at the bottom in how you cut it. Everybody cut theirs different, but for me, I peel all the dead skin off, and then for stew in Ghana they cut it slightly, but for me, if I'm in a hurry, I just cut it into small pieces, very, very small, instead of slicing it very, very thin. So that's how you know the difference between stew and soup, because the onions that the Ghanaian people use for stew, they cut it very, very thin, and for the soup they cut it like a little bit bigger than the stew one. So for example, if I'm using it right now, I'm going to be using it for stew. So since it's for stew, from what I know, you'll be cutting it very, very very, very thin, like this, and then you put it into the stew. That's how you cut them, very, very thin, and then you put it like this in the stew. And then you put it in the stew. Right now the fire is on low, so it won't burn. But if you want to make it for soup in Ghana, from what I know, they usually cut it like, you can cut it slightly, very thinly, like the one that we just used for the stew, but you have to cut it again like this, little by little, like that, and then it becomes a soup onion. But if you want stew onion and you want it the way that I know that the Ghanaian people do it, if it's for stew, it has to be very sliced, very thin, cut very, very thin, and slide it very, very flat. So they cut it very, very, very thin, and it becomes like this, You see how sliced like this? That's how you make it. When you want an onion for stew, you cut it like this. If you want and onion for soup, you cut it like this. That's the difference. But it's up to you if you're making it by for yourself at home. It's your own choice how you want to make it. You can cut it this way, or cut it slightly like this. It's up to you. But for me, I don't mind. This is homemade, so I don't mind how it ever is cut. But I'm just showing you how they do it in Ghana, like how you know the difference between onion that is going to be used for stew and it's going to be used for soup. So the onions are finished, so nicely done, and I'll be putting it in the oil, and the heat is very low because I'm just going to blend the pepper, ginger, and the garlic and the onions together and bring it and put it in. But for now, it's on low heat so that doesn't burn as I prepare to blend this the spices that I'll be using to cook. And then I'll be cutting the tomatoes and also blending it. Okay, so for the last onion that I'll be blending with the pepper, the ginger, and the garlic as my spices. I'll use other spices as well, but this is also spices for the soup. The stew. This is also spices for the stew. So again, I just peel it, remove all the dead skin off, and then I wash it, and then I cut it into just large pieces, and then I'll add it to the ginger, garlic, and the pepper. Okay, so I just cut it into just large pieces like that, and like this. And then I'll put it in the blender to cook it. So I have to cut also the garlic, remove the dead skin off it. So remove the dead skin off it, and then I'll be washing it too. Okay, and then wash it very nicely, and then you put it in the blender like this. And you have to put a little bit water in here so that it will blend very well. Okay, so this is how much water I'm going to use to blend it, and then I'll bring it over here like this, and then I'll be blending it. First I have to cover it nicely. Okay, so I drain all the water out, and then I put it in the plastic to wash it. So if you can do it like this, and then let all the preserving water around it come out, and then put it in a bowl, a container or a bowl like this. So I'm going to be washing the tomato, and then I'll get all the seeds out of the tomato because I don't like this in the my stew. And also I want to get all the preserving water that it was around it that preserved the tomato out of it. So I wash it, I open it up like this and get all the seeds out, and then I put it in here in the blender. So that's what I'm gonna be doing. And then you can use the seed that you get out of it to grow tomatoes in the summer if you have a house or backyard, or if the place where you live is always hot and you have a backyard, you can grow it there. You can grow the tomato seed there. But if you don't have a backyard, you can get a flower pot and put earth in it, and put water and put the tomatoes in it. It will grow. And there's a lot of YouTube channels too that teaches you how to grow tomato in flower pots. So if you want to know how to do it, you can check out those videos on YouTube. So I just shake it and put it in, and I shake it like this until it all comes in it. And as you can see, all the seeds are in the net. It didn't go into the stew. So that's how I like it. I don't want any of the seed in there. So the stew, this is the tomatoes that I'm putting in. The spices, I haven't added my spices yet, so I'll be adding the spices also after. And so in case you don't put your spices with the onion, you can put it after you put the tomatoes as well. So it's never too late. If you're cooking and you forget to put something in there that's supposed to be, you can do it as you're going. It's not too late. So this is my spices that I'm going to be putting inside. These are spices, my spices. So it depends, whichever spices you like. You can get them from the store. Some like the chicken spices, some like the beef, some like curry. So whichever spices you like, you can get it from the store and then put it in the stew. So the pepper, the onion, the garlic, and the ginger are also spices. So if you don't like spices like this, you can use that as your spices, and you don't have to put anything else in your tomato and bean stew. But for me, I like to add some of this. That's why I'm adding it. So I just add a little bit of the 3 sauces that I want to use for today. So you have the chicken one and you have the beef one. So whichever one you like. And then you have other sauces as well that you can try. So just a little bit, you don't put too much, because it's just to spice it up. But if it's for a large family, and it will be larger than this, so you will have to put more, but this is just simple one for few. So this is enough. That's all I'll put. And then I'll stir it. I'm going to be putting my beans in it while it's cooking, because I want it to cook together. So this is the beans that I washed earlier on. I'm going to be adding that to it. Then I'll put salt after. Everybody have their own different way of making it. This is my way of making it. So if you have another way of making it, it's okay. I'm just showing you how I make it, my beans and tomato soup in a Canadian way. You can call it Ghanaian Canadian way. So I'm just gonna add my salt, just a little bit, and then I'll check if it's enough, and if it's not enough, then I'll add more, because I don't want it to be too much salt. It's actually really good, even though it's not done yet. It's very good. You just need a little bit more. So I'm just gonna add this little to it, and it'll be enough. So the beans is already in there, and I'm also going to add the meat, because I want the flavor of the meat to be in the food. So I'm going to add the fried meat that I fried earlier, the chicken, the goat meat, and the fried fish. So it's going to be cooking together, and then it would the taste of the chicken and the meat will go mix with the tomatoes and the beans, and it will taste very nice after. That's why I do it like that. So to get the seed out and use it for the summertime, you just pour it in a net like this, and then it will get all the water out for you, and then you can put it on a tissue like this, and then squeeze all the water out, because you want it dry. So after you squeeze all the water out, it's like this. It becomes like this, and then you leave it out to dry. And when it's dry, you keep it somewhere until summertime, and then you can plant it at the backyard, make it a garden, and then it will grow tomatoes for you. And you might not even have to buy tomatoes after the summer, because you might have so much tomatoes, because it will grow so much, especially when you put water on it and it have enough sun. It will grow very well, and then you have a lot of tomatoes to eat. So the stew is cooking, and it tastes very nice, even though it hasn't finished yet. It's very good, and when it finish, I'll show you the finish. But this is how it looks now. It's cooking very nicely. Okay, so here is the final stew. This is how it looks like, and it is done. So I'm going to leave it to warm and to cool down. Then I'll store it in the fridge later. Okay, so the stew is ready, and we're gonna taste it to see how it tastes. Okay. Wow, it is so good. As I said, when we started cooking, I wanted the flavor of the meat to be mixed with the stew, and it has done a good job. It is so good. The flavor of the meat is all mixed up in the stew, and it tastes so good. I hope you're gonna try, and I wish you all the best as you try it at home yourself. I'll see you next time, and thank you for watching Leader's Kitchen.